You've probably seen it happen in your own family. Two people, same house, same food, same rice on their plate, yet one person's sugar reading after lunch shoots up to 220, while the other stays calm and steady around 140. Same meal, same portion, completely different outcome. Doctors get asked this all the time, but we eat the same thing, so why is only one of us diabetic? And the answer almost never lies in how much rice was on the plate. It lies in what else was on that plate, or more importantly, what wasn't. This is the part nobody tells you clearly enough. Blood sugar control isn't only about cutting carbs or starving yourself of rice and roti. It's about pairing the right ingredients together so your body processes glucose slowly, calmly, and efficiently, instead of in one dangerous rush. And here's the truly worrying part. India today has one of the highest diabetic populations in the world. Estimates suggest well over 10 crore Indians are already living with diabetes, and almost an equal number are pre-diabetic, meaning their blood sugar is already abnormal, but they don't even know it yet because there are no obvious symptoms, no pain, no warning bell. Just silent damage happening inside blood vessels, kidneys, eyes, and nerves 1 year at a time. The good news, and this is genuinely good news, is that some of the most powerful tools to slow this down are not expensive supplements or imported superfoods. They are sitting quietly in almost every Indian kitchen, in jars we walk past every single day without realizing what they're capable of. In this video, we're going to break down exactly how blood sugar spikes actually happen inside your body, and then walk through a set of kitchen ingredients that science has repeatedly shown can help slow glucose absorption, improve how your body responds to insulin, and protect the very organ responsible for controlling your sugar levels, your pancreas. Before we get to the ingredients, let's quickly understand what's actually going on inside you when you eat. How blood sugar actually rises. Every time you eat something with carbohydrates, rice, roti, potatoes, fruit, even that evening biscuit with tea, your digestive system breaks those carbohydrates down into glucose. This glucose enters your bloodstream and your blood sugar level rises. That's completely normal. It's supposed to happen. What happens next is where the real story begins. Your pancreas senses this rise and releases insulin, a hormone that acts like a key. Insulin unlocks the doors of your cells so glucose can move out of the blood and into the cells where it gets used as energy. In a healthy body, this whole process is smooth. Sugar goes up a little after a meal, insulin handles it, and within a couple of hours, everything returns to a stable baseline. The problem starts in two possible ways. Either the glucose enters your blood far too quickly because the food you ate breaks down fast, like refined flour or sugary snacks, and your pancreas has to release a sudden, large burst of insulin to cope. Or, over years of repeated sugar spikes, your cells slowly stop responding properly to insulin signal. This is what's called insulin resistance, and it's the root of type 2 diabetes for the vast majority of people. Once insulin resistance sets in, sugar lingers in your bloodstream for longer periods after every meal. And that lingering sugar is not harmless. It's chemically reactive. Over months and years, it damages the inner lining of your blood vessels, injures nerve endings, especially in the feet, puts pressure on the kidneys filtering units, and slowly wears down the very pancreatic cells that are supposed to be producing insulin in the first place. This is exactly why food choices matter so much more than most people realize. Certain ingredients can physically slow down how fast carbohydrates convert to glucose. Others can improve how efficiently your cells respond to insulin. And a few can actually protect your pancreas from the wear and tear of years of high sugar exposure. Let's go through them one by one, starting with one of the most well-researched ingredients in the world for blood sugar support. Superfood 1, bitter gourd, or Karela. If there's one vegetable that has earned a genuine reputation in both traditional medicine and modern nutrition research for blood sugar support, it's bitter gourd. Most people avoid Karela because of its taste, but that bitterness is actually a clue to why it works. Bitter gourd contains a compound called charantin, along with a plant-based insulin-like protein, sometimes referred to as insulin, and an enzyme-inhibiting compound called mortison. Here's what these compounds actually do inside your body. Charantin has been studied for its ability to help stimulate glucose uptake into cells, working almost like insulin's assistant. The plant protein in bitter gourd has a molecular structure similar enough to human insulin that some researchers believe it can support transport into cells even when your own insulin signaling isn't working at full strength. On top of this, bitter gourd contains compounds that slow down two specific digestive enzymes, alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase, which are responsible for breaking starches down into glucose. When these enzymes are slowed, carbohydrates convert into sugar more gradually, which means less of a sudden spike after your meal. There's also emerging research suggesting bitter gourd may help activate a cellular pathway called AMPK, which is often nicknamed the body's metabolic master switch. When AMPK is activated, muscle cells become more efficient at pulling glucose out of the bloodstream on their own, independent of how much insulin is available. Multiple clinical studies conducted over the years, some using bitter gourd juice, others using extract capsules, have shown measurable reductions in blood sugar and improvements in fasting glucose when bitter gourd was used consistently over several weeks. How should you actually use it? The most effective and traditional method is to drink a small glass, around 50 to 100 milliliters of fresh bitter gourd juice on an empty stomach in the morning. If the taste feels too harsh, you can mix in a small piece of ginger or a few drops of lemon, which doesn't significantly reduce its benefits. If juice isn't practical for you, lightly cooked bitter gourd sabzi 2 to 3 times a week, prepared without excessive oil, is a reasonable alternative. One important caution, bitter gourd can lower blood sugar quite effectively, so if you're already on diabetes medication or insulin, introduce it gradually and monitor your sugar levels, because the combined effect could occasionally push your sugar lower than intended. Superfood 2. Fenugreek seeds or Methi. Next on the list is an ingredient almost every Indian household already owns, usually sitting forgotten at the back of the spice shelf. Fenugreek seeds. Fenugreek's power comes from two components working together. The first is a soluble fiber called galactomannan. When fenugreek seeds come into contact with water, this fiber swells up and forms a thick gel-like substance in your stomach and intestines. This gel physically slows down how quickly the carbohydrates from your meal come into contact with digestive enzymes, which means glucose is released into your bloodstream far more gradually instead of all at once. Think of it as installing a natural speed control on your digestion. Because sugar enters the blood slowly, your pancreas doesn't need to release a sudden flood of insulin, which reduces the wear and tear associated with those sharp spikes. The second important compound is an amino acid unique to fenugreek called 4-hydroxyisoleucine. Research has shown this amino acid can directly stimulate insulin secretion from pancreatic cells, specifically when blood sugar is elevated, meaning it doesn't force insulin release randomly, only when it's actually needed. This targeted action helps improve overall insulin sensitivity over time without overworking the pancreas unnecessarily. Fenugreek has also been shown in several studies to slow gastric emptying, food stays in your stomach a little longer before moving to the intestine. This contributes to that same gradual controlled glucose release, and many people report feeling fuller for longer and experiencing fewer sudden hunger pangs after adding fenugreek to their routine. The traditional and most effective way to use it is simple. Soak 1 teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a glass of water overnight, and drink the water along with the softened seeds first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. If you find the seeds too bitter to chew, you can lightly crush them and stir the powder into dal or vegetable curry instead. Consistency matters far more than quantity here. 1 teaspoon daily, taken regularly for weeks and months, will do far more for you than an occasional large dose. And overdoing fenugreek can cause bloating or stomach irritation in some people. So moderation is key. Superfood 3. Cinnamon or Dalchini. Cinnamon is often dismissed as just a flavoring spice, but from a metabolic standpoint, it's one of the more scientifically interesting ingredients in your spice box. The active compounds in cinnamon, primarily cinnamaldehyde and a group of plant polyphenols, appear to influence insulin signaling directly at the cellular level. In people with insulin resistance, the receptors on cell surfaces that are supposed to respond to insulin become sluggish. Research suggests polyphenols can enhance the activity of an enzyme involved in insulin receptor signaling, effectively helping those receptors wake up and respond more efficiently when insulin arrives. At the same time, cinnamon appears to activate that same AMPK pathway we talked about earlier with bitter gourd, the metabolic switch that allows muscle and liver cells to absorb glucose from the blood even without waiting entirely on insulin to do the job. There's another important mechanism worth understanding. Between meals and overnight, your liver naturally produces some glucose on its own through a process called gluconeogenesis to keep your brain and body fueled while you're not eating. In people with poorly controlled blood sugar, this liver glucose production can go into overdrive, contributing significantly to high fasting sugar readings in the morning. Some research indicates that cinnamon compounds can help moderate the enzymes responsible for this liver glucose glucose output, which may explain why regular cinnamon users often report sugar numbers over time. Cinnamon also has a direct digestive effect, gently slowing the activity of the same starch-breaking enzymes we discussed earlier, which contributes to a steadier, rise in blood sugar after carbohydrate-heavy meals. For daily use, a quarter to half a teaspoon of good quality cinnamon powder is enough. Stirred into warm water, herbal tea, or sprinkled into your dal or sabzi while cooking. It doesn't need to be consumed in large amounts to be effective. In fact, more is not better here. Certain lower quality cinnamon varieties, particularly cassia cinnamon, which is the most common type sold commercially, contain a compound called coumarin, which in very high doses over long periods can stress the liver. Keeping your intake to a small daily pinch avoids this risk entirely, while still giving you the metabolic benefits. Superfood 4, Indian gooseberry, or Amla. The final ingredient on this list often gets overlooked in blood sugar conversations because most people know it only as a vitamin C source or a hair oil ingredient. But Amla's role in blood sugar management deserves far more attention than it gets. Amla is exceptionally rich in polyphenols and tannins, along with one of the highest natural concentrations of vitamin C found in any commonly eaten fruit. These compounds work together in a very specific way. High blood sugar over time generates something called oxidative stress inside the body, essentially unstable molecules that damage cells, and pancreatic beta cells, the ones responsible for producing insulin, are particularly vulnerable to this kind of damage. Amla's powerful antioxidant profile helps neutralize this oxidative essentially acting as a protective shield around the pancreas, helping preserve its ability to keep producing insulin efficiently rather than burning out under constant pressure. Beyond its antioxidant effect, Amla also contains chromium, a trace mineral that plays a supporting role in how insulin interacts with cell receptors, potentially improving overall insulin sensitivity. Several smaller clinical studies have observed measurable reductions in both fasting and post-meal blood sugar levels in participants who consumed Amla regularly over a period of weeks, alongside improvements in cholesterol markers, which matters because heart disease and diabetes so often go hand in hand. Amla also has a mild fiber content that, like the other ingredients we discussed, contributes to slower carbohydrate digestion and a steadier glucose release. The simplest way to use Amla daily is to consume one fresh Amla, or roughly 1 to 2 teaspoons of Amla juice diluted in water first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. If fresh Amla isn't available in your area, dried Amla powder, dried Amla teaspoon mixed into warm water is a reasonable substitute. Avoid Amla preparations loaded with added sugar, like certain candied versions, since that defeats the entire purpose. Why consistency matters more than any single ingredient. Here's something worth being completely honest about. None of these four ingredients, Fenugreek, cinnamon, or Amla, are magic cures. However powerful, can single-handedly reverse years of insulin resistance overnight. Diabetes develops slowly over years of repeated stress on your metabolic system, and improving it also happens slowly through consistent, sustained changes rather than dramatic short-term efforts. What research consistently shows is that these ingredients work best not as isolated remedies, but as part of an overall pattern. A diet that also limits refined sugar and refined flour, includes regular physical activity like walking after meals, ensures adequate sleep and manages stress, since chronically elevated stress hormones like cortisol can themselves worsen insulin resistance. Think of these four kitchen ingredients as reliable, well-researched tools that support your body's own system, rather than substitutes for a doctor's advice or prescribed medication. If you're currently on diabetes medication, it's important to introduce these gradually and monitor your blood sugar readings, because combining several blood sugar lowering foods and drinks together can sometimes lower your sugar more than expected, and your medication dosage may eventually need to be reviewed by your doctor as your numbers improve. Putting it all together. So here's a simple, realistic way to bring all four into your daily routine without overwhelming yourself. Start your morning with soaked fenugreek water, or on alternate days, a small glass of bitter gourd juice. Add a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon to your morning tea or your dal while cooking. Eat one fresh Amla, eat one spoon of Amla juice, or sometime during the day, ideally before a meal. And rotate these ingredients into your regular cooking rather than treating them as separate medicines you have to remember to take. None of this requires you to overhaul your entire diet overnight. It simply means being a little more intentional about ingredients that are already familiar and already sitting in most Indian kitchens, but rarely used with real purpose or consistency. Diabetes doesn't happen because of one bad meal, and it won't improve because of one good one either. But every meal where you make a slightly better choice is one less spike your blood vessels have to absorb, your blood vessels, one less burden on your pancreas, one less burden on your pancreas, toward a body that manages sugar the way it's supposed to. If you found this helpful, let us know in the comments which of these four you're already using or planning to start with, or planning to start with. And if there's another traditional ingredient you've heard about that you'd like explained properly with the actual science behind it, tell us. We'll cover it in an upcoming video. Remember, managing blood sugar isn't a short-term fix, it's a long-term lifestyle. Small, consistent choices made every single day are what actually change the outcome over months and years. Stay consistent, stay informed, and take care of your health one meal at a time.